Well, hello, everyone. Good to have you here tonight. Hopefully, we're going live on Instagram as well. We'll see in a minute. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, we are going live on Instagram. Let's see if I can lower my sound here. Okay, I'm alone by myself. That's it. Just me. That's who you get. Because guess what happened? Svetlana and Jen decided to go away together and do their thing. And they left me here by myself to talk to you about We the People. So, are you ready for an absolute positive shit show, which will be an absolute shit show with me by myself? And we're going to get educated on lots of things, including 14th Amendment and what is going on in Colorado and across the nation trying to remove Trump from the ballot. But until then, I think it's time to start the show. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that. Let's see. Here we go.
Who the hell cares?
That's a liberal.
It's like saying, would you rather have wine or water?
Wine, a half inch means a lot sometimes.
Nobody likes to eat crow. Right.
Now I'm starving.
How much is the economy today? It's that much.
This pumpkin latte sucks, and I want to speak to your manager.
Objection, hearsay. Objection, leading. Objection, hearsay.
Where is that woman when Biden speaks?
Get the hell out of here. His name is pronounced Joni. And that's the end of it.
Okay, so here we go. We're here. Let's see who joined us tonight. Okay, we've got Billy Nolan. How are you, Billy? Good to see you. I'm Francine. Good to see you. Yeah, We the People are pissed off. Absolutely. Thanks, Mom, for the encouragement. I need it. This is going to be interesting. We're also live on Instagram at the same time, and I'm going to leave it running and see what actually happens. I don't know. But Happy New Year, Lucille, our OG. Good to have you, Lucille. Bobby Dutcher is with us. Good evening, Bobby. And our professor. How are you, professor? And where is Jen? So here's what happened. It was the craziest thing, as you know, Svetlana, was a guest on our show a couple of times, and just all of a sudden decided that they needed to go to Venezuela. And so the two of them, or Brazil, I can't remember which one. So anyway, the two of them are off hanging out, or maybe it was the Dominican Republic. I don't know. I'm bad in geography. They're all hanging out together and they left me alone to do the show. And so here we are. And let me tell you, what a week to leave me alone. I have had an unbelievable week. I posted something on TikTok this week. It was a statement that Donald Trump was president for 4 years and all Americans were better off. And that garnered 50,000 views. It was just a picture. And you might have seen it on my Facebook page or Instagram or whatever. It said, Donald J. Trump was president of the United States for 4 years and all Americans were better off. So I posted it on TikTok because TikTok said that pictures do better than videos. So I posted it to see what would happen. Holy crap. Holy crap. Well, we got 50,000 views, but we got such people with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, following me now. It is insane. And what they did was they reported me to TikTok for violating community standards. So TikTok banned my account. I mean, banned it, flat out banned it, threw me off. And That was it. My account was gone. And then they came over and followed us on YouTube. And let me tell you, the comments are going crazy. The algorithms were going off the chart. So they came over and they banned me on Facebook. I'm sorry, on TikTok, and then they tried to get me banned off of YouTube. So I appealed the TikTok stuff because I said I didn't violate anything. I said something. That's all I said, and that was it. Well, let me tell you something. They restored my account, but all of a sudden I gained 100 followers off of that one post. I don't know if they're good followers or bad followers. Um, but anyway, Trump derangement syndrome was in full swing. So based on that, I thought, well, you know what? This would be a really good time for us to discuss, we the people, because we see what's going on with Donald Trump. We see that Colorado took him off the ballot, and they restored him because it's under appeal. But then Maine took him off the ballot, and in California, they refused to take him off the ballot, which is interesting. So I thought that we should talk about the 14th Amendment because it's one person, it's a Republican, and it's one person who's traveling all the states filing these lawsuits. So I think it's either a DeSantis person or Nikki Haley person. But they're traveling around the country filing all these lawsuits to get Trump off the ballot. I think we all know what that means. That if you're trying to take Trump off the ballot, what you're trying to do is interfere in an election. So don't know if there are Democrats behind it, but it doesn't matter if it's Democrats, right? Because we've already seen that the Republicans are Republicans. They're a whole different breed of swamp people that do not want Donald Trump back. So let's see. And tonight, listen, everybody, you really have to help me out. You have to help me with comments and things like that because I'm by myself. So I need you all to pop up and talk. So let's see what you say. TikTok jail. Yeah. Well, for a minute, they didn't just jail me. They murdered me. They banned my whole page. I have 10,300 followers. They banned my whole page. Told me that I couldn't be part of TikTok. Not that I really want to. I like to go on TikTok because I like to see what the enemy is saying, and I like to, keep my horizons open. I know CCP, all that stuff. I get it, but I'd like to see what's going on. So that's why I was on TikTok. But the appeal got me restored. I make a lot of reels in Facebook and no problem. I try to reel with all Trump stuff and it wouldn't go through. I tried for 3 days, no go still. Not surprised, Debbie. Not surprised. It happens to me all the time. They pick and choose. As a matter of fact, YouTube, I was starting to upload some of the older shows because, as you know, we got thrown off of YouTube 3 times, and I'm rebuilding. And thankfully, because of the TikTok video, we went from 10 YouTube followers to 41 in a week. So the algorithm was working. But we decided the third show in our series, you could find all of the series on Rumble. They haven't taken us none of them. But on YouTube, the third in this series was the Biden press conference. They said that I couldn't, that one, they took it down because of something to do with a comment on the vaccines. And they said we're provide or spreading misinformation. And so I appealed that too. And I won that appeal. And when I won that appeal, all of a sudden, the next videos that I uploaded were getting, that video itself got over 2,000 views. And the ones that I was uploading thousands of views, as opposed to the older videos that I started up with that were getting 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Now suddenly we're in the thousands. So I guess when they restored that video, they must have forgotten I was shadow banned and they lifted that. So that's interesting. Oh, thank you, Colleen. You know why I look fabulous? Listen, I went to Marshall's and I got this new thing. It's a brush hair dryer. I dried my hair in like 10 minutes, and this is how it came out. It was amazing to me that such inventions actually work. So thank you, Colleen. I hope you're feeling better, honey. I know you were sick. Well, let them follow you and you can educate them. Well, that's exactly the point. And half of tonight's show, I'm hoping that they come on and give us a hard time because half of tonight's show, nobody has been charged with insurrection. That is correct. And we're going to talk about that. Snakes indeed. Let the people decide. Well, right now, I don't understand this. The people who are saying that we can't have voter ID, we can't have ballot security, that we need to have 15 days to vote, all these things, right? Those people are all about that we need to, expand the ability to vote. But when it comes to a Republican primary, they actually want the president off the ballot so that people can vote for him. Hmm. How does that make any sense? Think about that for a minute. I mean, it's crazy. But then again, we know, right, that hypocrisy is the name of the game when it comes with these anti-Trumpers. I'm not even going to say Democrats anymore because it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well. So, hmm. Uh, Epic Times. Okay. Good. Excellent. Thank you, Colleen. Everybody should click on that. I call insurrection on banning you. Well, thank you. As I said, I was restored in both places because they had no reason. But other people who might not appeal, and let me tell you something. I appealed other bans on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, and stuff like that, and I lost them. But this one I won, and I was glad I won both spots. TikTok has tons of information. Yes, it does. It has tons of information. Some of it good, some of it bad. But I'm not getting off of it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Follow Bill Nolan. Absolutely. Freedom of speech only for liberals. I even hesitate to say liberals anymore, Francie, because it's not just the libs. There are so many Republicans involved in this. So I would say that the correct terminology now is the swamp. And that could include Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals. It is actual system to eviscerate the United States, and it's an organization of people trying to do it. So if we want to talk about insurrection, that to me is insurrection. That and the lack of border security, absolutely insurrection. Freedom of oh, wait, people of color can relate to the manner in which Trump is being persecuted. Excellent, excellent comment. Excellent comment. And interesting. I was thinking about it today, Professor. They're using the 14th Amendment to persecute Trump, to kick him off the ballot. The 14th Amendment, the amendment to the Constitution that was supposed to actually restore African Americans to the place of being equal citizens under the law, under the United States Constitution. I say supposed to because the 14th Amendment didn't actually do it. There needed to be a 15th Amendment, there needed to be court cases, there needed to be all kinds of things. Once the 14th Amendment was adopted, didn't mean that African Americans were treated as every other uh, individual. And remember, we're only talking about African American males because females were nowhere in. Um, they weren't figured in here. Females of any color were not allowed to vote. Were not treated as citizens. Couldn't vote properly. But later on, that 14th Amendment actually won women the right to vote. It won equal treatment, all those things. But it's interesting that they're trying to get rid of Trump using the amendment that actually was designed to protect the rights of Black people as individual citizens, equal to any other citizen, any other white citizen. So it's kind of blasphemy that they would do that, right? Because we saw the Democrat states South fight against the 14th Amendment. We saw the KKK grew out of the 14th Amendment being passed. We saw so many Democrat actions against the 14th, because we all have to remember. I saw this. I saw this on social media, I think it was Instagram, and I was really, really, really. It made me laugh. 4,000 years later, and we're back to the same language. So hieroglyphs and all the little what do they call them? Emojis. Yeah, look again. Um, and that's from my garden country. It's kind of uh, it's funny how we're going backwards on things. Let's see where. Oh, we got the uni party. Yeah, that's a good thing to call them, the uni party. It's a constitutional derangement. Absolutely, Debbie. Absolutely. Most Republicans are Democrats, but no Democrat is Republican. That's a brilliant statement, Bobby. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Uh, Audio is good here. Okay, good. Well, go to my Instagram and see if it's actually running. I have no idea. It says it's running, but who knows? Okay. Instagram is Leticia Remauro. That's it. Just Leticia Remauro. Let's just see. Let's skip back here. All right, I'm everything tonight, so forgive me if I'm screwing this up. Tell me how I'm doing every once in a while. If I'm getting boring, tell me. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is a woman who is calling a speaker on campus fascist, but unfortunately, well,
here. Yeah.
I know he's not a fascist, but it's more just of getting the community together to just go against.
A lot of people said he's not actually a fascist. So then why call him a fascist?
Well, I don't know the exact definition of a fascist, so I don't know if he is or isn't a fascist.
Here.
I don't know what a fascist is. I'm just doing it for attention. Um, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get attention, and I'm trying to get people to listen to me. So I don't know. Go figure it out. Can she cook? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna. If I had money to bet, I would say no. She buys all of her food from Instacart or DoorDash. That's my guess, but I don't know her, so who knows? Yeah, exactly. She doesn't know what a fascist is, but she wanted to make sure she got attention. So I don't know what an idiot is, but she may fit. Deb, I need you on the show. You should join me, Deb. Next time Jen decides to go to Dominican Republic with Svetlana, I'll bring you on. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Oh, so one of the things that was happening on TikTok was when I posted that post is people were saying that Trump had no accomplishments. So I decided to look them up, and every time somebody said he had no accomplishments, I just shot them a text of the link to all of his accomplishments, and I'll show you that in a minute. No cooking, strike three. Yeah, Instagram is right. Oh, thank you, Bobby. Bobby, you are the best. I have no idea where to find it. Apparently, it's not helping because our viewer count isn't up. But anyway, we're on Instagram. Yay! All right, our first full episode on Instagram. Let's see how that goes. Definitely an idiot. But here's the thing. Really, you go out into the world and you protest and you call somebody a effing fascist, but I don't know the meaning of the word fascist. This is our public education system. This is our college education system. This is our parents teaching their children. This is our future. I have a problem with that, man. Big problem with that. Senate confirms non-elected bureaucrats and 17th Amendment redesign the Senate and states' right. Yes, and here's what happened. After the 14th Amendment, there was a series of amendments to try and get people to have their rights. And I'm going to show you some videos with respect to that in a minute. But, you know, the, the, the question at hand, especially with the Colorado decisions and the lawsuits that are going around the nation is, where should the federal government stop and where should the states' rights begin? Um, I have always been a proponent of state government. That's what the Constitution, when it's drafted, it was stated that people were free. Period. Not free unless free. And the Constitution and Bill of Rights was designed to say that government cannot do this, cannot do that. The Constitution and Bill of Rights was not is not rights that are given to us. We have every right. The Constitution and Bill of Rights was a a rule, if you will, a manifesto for what the government could absolutely not touch. And it was made to be expanded so that people's individuals' liberty would be protected for all time. That's what the founding fathers envisioned when they drafted this document. The Bill of Rights came later, and they, as they're amended, what people fail to understand, I guess is the words I'm looking for, is that these documents are to limit government power. It starts off with the presumption that every man, woman, child is born with inalienable rights given to them by God, superpower, higher power, whatever you want to call it, and that cannot be taken away by the government of the United States of America. Period. Period. The documents that follow after are getting confused because the way those documents and those amendments are starting to read is that the government is allowed to do this, especially one about income tax. So we're going to look at that in a minute. But anyway, I'm going to go. You know me, I could talk forever, so you guys better talk a lot. Hi, Cat Paluto. Okay, Billy Nolan and Cat Paluto know each other. That's fantastic. I love cross talking, and I love when friends join the program. Okay, Colleen is giving us more information. As you know, Colleen is our official researcher. So everybody look at Colleen's comments. Okay, so Cat and Billy know each other. That's great. Yeah, there is there's a you know what website shows Trump's accomplishments? The National Archives. And I'm going to show them to you in a minute. Non-elected positions really ruled this country. 100%, Professor. 100%. And that is so sad. We are in bondage. The Constitution was for the people to be safe against the tyranny of government. Absolutely. But yet we're all of a sudden it got flipped. It got flipped by interpretations. And what happens is that there's the three branches, right? There's the executive branch, which is the president. There's Congress, which is the House and the Senate, and then there's the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court. Okay, these are our federal three branches of federal government. What happens is that the Supreme Court interprets laws and sometimes sets precedents that creates laws by Congress and the Senate ratifying it. And because of the interpretations of Supreme Court justices, so much has been done. For instance, with the 14th Amendment, when they started arguing it, right, in Congress, there were the Democrats who were pro-slavers who said that because slavery was mentioned in the Constitution, that it was inherent that that was legal and that was allowed and that it was never meant for slaves to have equal rights to citizens. Then the abolitionists argued that the founding fathers wanted all people living on American soil to be treated equally. And so that conversation ensued, and it went to the Supreme Court. And Justice Connie was the one who said that blacks don't have equal rights to white, as his interpretation of the United States Constitution. And based on that, that's where the Civil War really kind of broke out and started, or continued on. Um, Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. Absolutely, Debbie Kate says, Constitution was to protect us from the tyranny of government. I think I read that already. Limits exist to limit our elected government. However, who limits unelected officials? Nobody. And that's why government expansion is so prevalent. That's why it's ever expanding. It never stops. It never stops. And I don't care which president it is, it never stops. The only one that actually wanted to reduce unelected officials was Trump. And even he didn't succeed at it. He might have stated it, but he didn't succeed at it. When Pelosi ripped the paper, that time it was an optic of ripping the Constitution. Absolutely it was. Unelected officials are the fourth branch of government, the shadow government. Absolutely true. Okay, so let's see, where am I here? Okay, Trump accomplishments. This is going to run for about 2 minutes. You're not going to be able to read it, but what I'm going to say to you is I put this up here today because I wanted all the people on TikTok, on YouTube, who are trying to get me banned. I want them to see. And you can, look at this again and slow it down and pause it if you want. But this is from the National Archives website. Watch. I did my best to, at least give you a second to kind of look at what was going on. This was as of January 2020. This runs for pages and pages and pages and pages. It's crazy. I mean, the man had so many things that he did, and he limited government in so many ways. And I think the thing that I enjoyed the most, I mean, he memorialized. They called him a racist, but he actually gave money to historic Black college, which was never funded through the federal government on a regular basis before. But he felt, because he's a Republican, that they needed to historical Black colleges needed to be funded. You could agree or disagree, but I thought that if anything showed that this was not a racist, that showed. It goes on for pages. National Archives is all you have to do is Google Trump's accomplishments, and this comes up. I, you know, they he claimed he was going to get rid of Obamacare. He did. He changed it. He changed it in a way that it actually started to work, um, which I guess is a good thing. Um, he securing the border, he did so much to secure the border. He recognized that we had a border crisis, and he did what he could to secure it. I mean, he just kept on going. I mean, he in 4 years he made so many changes to government. Yeah, I don't agree with all of them, but I do think that he was leading this country in the right direction. And what was most important about Trump's accomplishments is that people of other countries, especially dictators, feared him so terribly that they wouldn't dare do the shit that they're pulling right now with Biden. They wouldn't dare. You know, and probably the most important thing that he did was make us oil independent, uh, allowing and making sure that we could drill on our own land so that we didn't have to depend on anybody else. And not only did he help America when he did that, he helped Europe because once Biden came in and stopped the drilling, he tried to play a shell game, right? For the silly kids that don't understand any better. He pretended that he issued permits to the drilling company. But what he did was those permits came at such an exorbitant price that it wasn't worth the companies to actually drill because they knew that they couldn't get back the return on their investment. Because when you drill, you don't know if you're going to hit oil or not. It's a very costly expenditure. And also, he limited the banks that would give them loans for drilling. So, he plays a shell game of the most dangerous kind, of the swamp kind, where he talks out of this side of the mouth, and he's really the truth is coming out of this side of the mouth where nobody's watching. Um, so pretty bad stuff. Let's see. Where Okay, we spoke about that. I can't believe they overlooked term limits on Congress. Yeah, well, they did, and you know why? And that's thankfully, I know Ralph, disagrees with me, but thankfully, we have the Constitutional Convention or Convention of States. Maybe that will do something about it. That's why we have to have a convention, absolutely, the Convention of States. That's what they are fighting, his accomplishments. Absolutely, they are. So, if anybody gives you a hard time, go to the Trump website or go to this video, clip out just his accomplishment, and send it on over to them. Let them see. Why is it only on half the screen? Oh, because that's how we set it up, so that I don't know. It's you can do it if you go to the national. Trump may hold a rally in the Bronx. They are supporting him. They are. They're African Americans or blacks, because I know that there's now a movement again to stop with the African American because Africa is a continent, not a country, and so people want to be called black. You know, all of a sudden, blacks and Trump have something in common. It's really interesting. A lot in common. The black population loved Trump when he was just a billionaire, television host, and all that stuff. And suddenly, because the elites told them that he was racist, all of a sudden people started believing he was a racist. Problem in the past was that people never really paid attention to the deeds, but right now, well, I don't know if they are. I think they're paying more attention to the Kardashian than the details, Professor. He did what he said. That's the problem because the rest of them are trying heads. It's true. He came in and he threw the whole thing upside down. Yes, historical black colleges had to request funding every year or two to make it longer or maybe permanent. Outsourcing oil industry to Canada. It shows that Trump accomplished in the last 4 years and the politicians in the federal government had failed for decades because they're all talking more action. Trump is the actual opposite and great accomplishment. He's giving power back to the people. Yeah, and you know what? Here's the interesting thing. You talk to these idiots, these bots, and let me tell you something. The Biden campaign are paying so much money to follow anybody that says anything about Trump and to shout them down. I'm telling you, it is ridiculous. As of today, 50,000 views. I had 2,020 likes on that TikTok and 4,000 comments that were 90%. Now they're taking to calling him Diaper Donnie because somehow, somebody said that he wore a diaper. And that I think is hysterical since we all know that it was Biden that shit his pants. And what they're doing is they're making alternative narratives, and they're very, very funny. This is why I fully support limited government because they provide the U.S. Constitution. Absolutely. They were worried about the black vote. That's why they are instituting reparations. Oh yeah, well I think that was the trick all along, right? Throw money at it and it'll work. That's what welfare was about, right? Was it Lyndon B. Johnson who said let's give them meaning use the N-word, money and they'll be voting for us forever. And it worked, didn't it? You polls show Biden down 25% with black voters. Yeah, it's true, and it's very exciting. Okay. Anyway, so whenever somebody tells me that Biden has done things, I want to show them this picture because I just think this is funny. What I don't know if everybody sees it, but cow jumping over the moon. So surreal. Biden doing a good job. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. What's the other one? When pigs fly? Yeah, that's the other one. So let's hear from our friend Curtis Lewa. This is phenomenal. He took this on 3rd Avenue in Manhattan. Watch.
This is something you'll never see in the middle of a day. 3rd Avenue in New York City. This is something you'll never see in the middle of a day. 3rd Avenue in New York City. This is the future when everybody leaves and heads to Florida. They're on their way to Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Look, there's nobody back there because they've all fled the city, and it'll be a city only of criminals, homeless, emotionally disturbed, and migrants. I am Nostradamus. I see what's coming in 2024. Vast sea of emptiness.
Amazing. Oh, sorry. I'm in a cloud of smoke. No, it's not pot. It's my vape pen. Um, okay. Uh, People are leaving New York City in droves. But we all knew that was the deal it made with Staten Island. If you weren't going to elect borough president, I had to follow my husband because he had had enough. But Third Avenue in Manhattan in the middle of the day. Look at that. Uh, okay. Biden doesn't talk on two sides the face. He talking out of his ass. Nothing but crap comes out. Oh, that's another thing. If you go to the YouTube and the YouTube channel is at Right Stuff Gal. Please, everybody, go there and subscribe. I know we don't love YouTube, but go there and subscribe because it'll help me a lot. And comment. But I put up Trump versus Biden speeches from last week's show where we showed Trump speaking and then Biden trying to say America to be described in one word, blah, 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 blah. And the Biden bots went crazy, and they were saying, "Oh well, you only showed the best of Trump and the worst of Biden. Show the best of Biden." So my response was, "Give me something of Biden that wasn't scripted and wasn't screwed up, and I'd be happy to show it. But it ain't out there. I watch millions of hours of videos, and I have not yet seen Biden make a speech where he didn't fumble, fall asleep, read a teleprompter. It's crazy. But if you want to have some fun, go over to YouTube and have some conversations with these people. I understand if you don't want to do TikTok, but they're over at YouTube too, at Right Stuff Gals. Like and subscribe. Politicians believe that money talks because they buy elections. Of course, that's what it's all about, right? They only balance Biden until they're out of money, but they'll never be out of money, right? Because he's got the people, the bankers, all those people on his side. Yeah, he is right. Curtis is right. Kathy Hochul is Florida's Realtor of the Year. No, okay, excellent comment, Colleen. Excellent comment. If DeSantis gave her an award for that, if the Board of Realtors of Florida gave her an award for that, that would be fantastic. Anybody in Florida, if you're watching right now, you got to get on the Hochul train there and give her the award for being the Florida Realtor of the Year. South Carolina's too, by the way. They use the Biden narrative until they run out of money. Yeah. Biden's ass and mouth should wear a diaper. Indeed. Okay. Bobby, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe you'll describe it here. Okay. So reason that New York is the way it is because of all the migrants, the illegal migrants who have come into New York City, right? Well, I want you to see, we talked about this already. It's not just America, it is the other European countries as well. Look at what's going on in Ireland right now. Watch this. It's going to blow your mind. All right, where are we?
You Irish?
Yeah.
What do you think about the #1 baby name of Galway City last year being Mohammed?
I know, I love that.
You love that? You want to get rid of all the Connors and the
Yeah, I really do. It's too many. It's like
Too
5
many.
in each class.
So if there's like 10 Mohammeds, it's a lot better.
Yeah, something different, you know? Change the scene a bit.
So Ireland has Chelsea where Mohammed is the most popular name in Ireland. Happened in England, it's happening all over. Just think about that. Think about that. Biden Barts are having technical difficulty whenever Trump's numbers go up. No, they're not. Let me tell you something. They're out there. Their goal, their job, their one job is to make sure that anything pro-Trump is shot down. So we all have to be, on our toes. AI being used to prepare legal docs is caught hallucinating. Really? I stole it from a meme. Okay. She needs some Irish whiskey. She needs a reality check, but that's what our kids are doing, right? I was speaking to a Jewish friend of mine today who is living in New York. She is considered, she's a Democrat actually, and she told me that every day she goes to work, she has to use the train station in Brooklyn, and every day there are a group of pro-Palestinians out there saying, "Kill the Jews." Can you imagine in New York? In New York. I live in South Carolina, which is considered a Christian state, mostly Christian. We have a big Muslim community, Pakistani, and we have a small Jewish community. Do you know that the Christians here are defending Israel, defending the Jewish people? But in New York, the home base for Jewish people around around the world, right? New York. This woman has to go to work every day and listen to people say kill the Jews. What is going on with the kids? It's insanity, absolute insanity. Okay, and for those of us sending our kids to public school, what?
Happy Friday, but can I ask you a serious question? How is it 2023 and this, I'll show you in a minute, is what we are saying the majority of families look like? This is the majority families. Don't get me wrong, there are families like that, and those families have plenty of things dedicated to them, movies and books and holidays and all the things. Why, like, if we're really getting serious about what people think teachers are doing in the classroom, why is that on a book? Why is that a picture representing families? I'm just asking.
So why would there be pictures of a mother, father, and child as a nuclear family? Why? In 2023, could you imagine that would be the picture of a nuclear family? That's amazing. That's amazing. It shouldn't look like that. They have everything. Nuclear families already have everything. Why do we keep showing pictures? How about because that's how a family happens? Mother, I don't care if you have artificial insemination. You needed a man's sperm. You needed a woman's ovary and eggs. You can't have a family be started without that. And yes, that is how nuclear families come about. And this is our school teacher who wants pictures of nuclear families to change. Come on. Come on. Are you kidding me? Uh, just absolutely crazy. Let's see. It's the archive link for Trump accomplishments. Okay, good. Excellent. So everybody, if you want to see the Trump accomplishments, go right up there. The link that Bob left said the biggest deniers on the planet. Yeah, they want to change history. They want to change science. I mean, it was just 2020 when they told us follow the science. And somehow they're not supposed to follow the science. They were in front of the Freedom Tower yelling "Death to America." Can you imagine? Wildest nightmares? I couldn't imagine. But am I surprised? No. I'm hoping it's protest in Charlotte and Raleigh. Well, let me tell you something. I live in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach, and on January 6th, which is Saturday, Kamala Harris is going to be speaking somewhere in the area, and there is going to be a protest for January 6th. People protesting her being there, calling for justice for the people who were arrested and imprisoned for January 6th without a trial. I love the state I live in now. I love it. I love it. I love it. The best is gays for Palestine who would be dead if they. I say we start a GoFundMe page and we ship them all over there and let them see firsthand what happened. EDP, yeah, emotionally disturbed people. I got it, Billy. I got it. I remember it. I remember it. Yeah. That's teach Miss Patricia. She is absolutely insane. She's teaching our kids. She needs to just shut the. Yeah, I agree. No picture should be of degenerates and communists. Yeah, right. That's what they should be of. Right. That's better. Nuclear families matter. It does indeed. Outsourcing family. Yeah, that's great. Excellent. 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 I love my audience. Oh, save the planet, destroy humanity. Yeah. People are protesting against farms. They want to stop farming. I want to know what they're going to eat. Not for nothing. These kids can't find their, you know what, with their own two hands. How they going to find food? How they going to figure it out? Come along. Is there a vaccine for stupidity? Ugh. If there was, I would invest. Hard to find a commercial of a nuclear family. Yeah, really. Not anymore, right? It's crazy. Okay, so anyway, 14th Amendment. Here's the text to the 14th Amendment. Some of it's gonna go by pretty quick, but I want you to concentrate on section 4. This is the section that they're trying to get Donald Trump under, and I want us to discuss it. So here you go. All right, so section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, but by Congress made by House room ability. I want you to read that and think this. They didn't say president of the United States. They didn't even say an oath of the United States. They said Congress or Senate or state legislature that took an oath. They did not say president or vice president. That's really, really, really important because under, let's see if I can find it. Hold on a second. Okay, so under the Colorado decision, after permitting President Trump and the Colorado Republican State Central Committee, collectively interveners, to intervene in the action below, the district court conducted a 5-day trial. The court found by clear and convincing evidence that President Trump engaged in insurrection, as those terms are used in Section 3, Anderson versus Griswold. But the district court concluded Section 3 does not apply to the president. Therefore, the court denied the petition to keep President Trump off the primary presidential ballot. The electors and President Trump sought this court's review of various rulings by the district court. We affirm in the part in reverse. Hold on. Wait. Oh, I think I mixed them up. Okay, on January 6, 2021, pursuant to blah, 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 spoke to attendees in a speech which began around noon. President Trump persisted in rejecting the election results, telling his supporters that we won in a landslide and we will never concede. He urged his supporters to confront this egregious assault on democracy, walk down to the Capitol, and show strength, and that if they did not fight like hell, they would not have a country anymore. Okay, so this is what they presented in Colorado, and this is what they found him guilty of insurrection. Now, these were the documents, and I'll be honest, I just read them just now. But this is what they're calling convicting him of insurrection. Off the ballot in Colorado. Now, the Republican Party in Colorado grew a pair and actually appealed, and so he's restored right now. And we'll see what's going to go on. But we'll see how far this goes. There would be no conflict if there was no violence. That's true. Oh, thank you, mother. Thank you so much. Very important to know I'm doing great, especially from my mom. Pogrom was why Israel exists, and pogrom happened on October 7th. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. And pogrom happened in 1775, right? Pogrom happened with the Revolutionary War. That was a pogrom. If it wasn't for the Revolutionary War, who were considered insurrectionists, the United States of America wouldn't be here. So let's think about that for a minute. Too late. I'm not sure what the too late is for. Our government has destroyed that in and of itself. We need to take Joe off red states ballots for giving aid and comfort to the enemies of the U.S. Right now, Newsom is giving them healthcare, which is crazy. Biden has committed treason 100%. Taking Trump off the ballot becomes their downfall because they're too stupid. So I encourage them to keep going so they can give Trump, yes, a platform. Read that. Actually, I only have 5 minutes left, and I still have stuff to say. So, but anyway, so here, let me just show you a couple of things in the 14th Amendment. So much. All right, now I'm gonna get back to where it was. Usually Jen talks at this point, and so I can find my stuff. Here we go.
But let's take a quick look at the amendment, at the 14th Amendment. The first sentence, of course, establishes birthright citizenship, which is a lecture unto itself. It's about, of course, 100% of the formerly enslaved Americans were born in the U.S., and this is one of the arguments that people could actually use for American exceptionalism. You can see by the map there that really is not something in Europe, but came to the New World. The second sentence has been a major significance and controversy ever since, and it reads, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws." Even today, people have differing views of what immunities and privileges are, or what due process or equal protection of the laws mean. The lack of clarity meant that the Supreme Court and our court system would be involved in determining their meanings. Section 2 of the 14th Amendment seems like it tries to guarantee the right to vote, but it does so indirectly, not by granting the right to vote as such, but by reducing a state's number of representatives in Congress if that state denied or abridged the right to vote of any qualified voters. The United States has never enforced this section of the 14th Amendment. It remains unenforced today. The idea, according to Republicans, Thad Stephen, of course, was to make up for the 3/5 clause with this elimination, was to give southern states a choice, grant universal suffrage or lose their power, force them to always be a minority in the national government. And then Section 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment dealt with the former Confederacy. Section 3 forbids those who engaged in rebellion against the United States to be members of Congress unless Congress approves them with a 2/3 vote. In 1872, Congress did soften that impact and allowed all successionists, except for the former top officials, to hold public office. In 1876, Congress actually removed any sanctions for all former Confederates. Now, Section 4 disallows payment of Confederate debts. They were illegal and void. When the U.S. had its brand new Constitution, the question of debt was a major issue between Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. If any of you are familiar with the play Hamilton, back then it was settled in the room where it happened. We can all sing that if we have time. But debt was a matter of honor. In 1868, as well as 1790, and the former Confederacy was not allowed to pay its debts. Now, Section 5 is essential. It gave Congress enforcement power, using the language that's there in the 13th Amendment as well, and stating that Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. The Reconstruction Amendments provided sovereign power to the federal government over the states and their various subdivisions. Mississippi legislators feared the enforcement clause of the 14th Amendment would be a dangerous grant of power and might admit federal legislation in respect to persons, denizens, and inhabitants of the state. The legislature in both Alabama and South Carolina were alarmed that the 14th Amendment gave Congress the power to legislate upon the political status of the freedmen. They were correct that the amendments were a transformation of a core American belief in the need to limit power. Prior to the Civil War, we the people wanted freedom from government. The Bill of Rights protected the people from governmental powers. Amendment 1 begins, Congress shall make no law respecting. The First Amendment therefore creates an understanding that the government by non-action protects freedom. The 14th Amendment, along with the other two Reconstruction Amendments, revolutionized freedom in the United States by assuring that it was protected by law. Each of the three Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, which outlawed slavery, the 14th, which granted equal citizenship to people born in the United States and ensured due process, and the 15th, which granted the right to vote to all male citizens, all specify that Congress shall have power to enforce. With these amendments, the Constitution was fundamentally altered. The extent of a citizen's social, civil, and political rights, and whether those rights were separate or unitary, remained open to debate, but the Constitution now committed the power of the federal government to the equal extension of these rights.
So let me just tell you about Vernon. I have his book, The Age of Lincoln. I've read it. Everybody should read it. He's amazing. But right there, he kind of talks about how, the 14th Amendment came about and the fact that it was supposed to protect our rights, period, end story. It also talks about the fact that Congress has the ability to say who, which parts of the amendment have been affected and whether or not somebody cannot run for office because of treasonous activity and who those people are. So Colorado kind of opens a little bit. I'm going to take comments here. Trump knows where the bodies are buried. They're not all the money. Yep, exactly. California, the land of and New York, not far behind. Great job, Leticia. See you next Tuesday. Don't go yet. I just want you to know that we have beer. I've got a lot more. Hopefully I'll get through it before we end. Okay, Cornwallis went to the South. The Revolutionary War almost turned into a civil war. Colonials killed colonials. Like war in New Jersey. Agreed. I want you to know on Rumble we have Beer Nut with us, and he is agreeing with Bobby Dutcher on some comments, and it says that the teacher wants attention. Now I want you to hear some more from Vernon Jones. Watch. All right, here we go.
Congress sent the 14th Amendment to the states for ratification. In short order, the following states refused to ratify it: Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Delaware, and Maryland. Had it not been that these former Confederate enslaved states intransigent and unrepentant course these states pursued, significant political change might have been delayed in the South or derailed altogether. As it was, Congressman James Garfield of Ohio, future president for a brief time in 1881, before being assassinated, declared that military authority was needed to plant liberty on the ruins of slavery. Congress felt bound to a higher purpose than a simple reconciliation of the sections. As a result of Southern states' refusal to ratify the 14th Amendment, and in the context of the Black Codes and terrorism, Congress then enacted the Reconstruction Act, putting the rebel states under federal military control. The Reconstruction Act authorized new state constitutions, and United States military commanders took charge of registering all male voters, black and white, to elect delegates to state conventions. Senator Charles Sumner, ardent supporter of black rights, believed that the ballot ensured African-American citizenship and effective protection against white supremacy. Believing suffrage would be immortal, that's his word, he naively thought the right of suffrage, once given, can never be taken away. Across the South, whites who thought that newly freed slaves would not bother voting were proved dramatically wrong. African Americans, most of them illiterate former slaves, responded overwhelmingly, often marching to the very spot where they had been whipped or sold, and cast their ballots. The newly adopted state constitutions, as required by the Constitution, the Reconstruction Act rather, provided for universal male suffrage. These state constitutions, most of them adopted in 1868 and 1869, were forward-looking, providing free public school systems for the first time, homestead protection, married women's right, among many other things. It was these new state legislatures that ratified the 14th Amendment in 1868. Now, Kentucky didn't ratify the 14th Amendment to 1876. Some northern states balked as well. New Jersey withdrew ratification in 1868 and ratified only in 2003. Oregon also withdrew ratification and only re-ratified in 1973. Ohio, Bingham's home state, actually rescinded ratification in 1868 and only re-ratified in 2003. If the 14th Amendment had been effective, there was no need for the 15th Amendment. But that was not to be, and compelling voices articulated, in fact, the basic requirement of suffrage. African-American leader Frederick Douglass, for one, declared that the right to vote was the keystone of the arch of human liberty. It became clear to the majority that the Constitution should include a new amendment guaranteeing the right to vote, and that, of course, becomes the 15th Amendment. The Constitution now defined the new birth of freedom, citizenship, and the right to vote. With citizenship secured by the 14th Amendment, the right to vote by the 15th Amendment, African Americans could protect themselves from their former owners through the rule of law, could shape those laws by standing for political office, and could choose their own leaders with free debate and an honest ballot. With citizenship and voting rights in the 14th and 15th Amendment, black political participation mushroomed. Voting was soon followed by office holding, minor offices in many places, but also state legislative seats in many states, several statewide offices, particularly South Carolina and Louisiana. 2 black Mississippians were U.S. senators, and 14 other African Americans served in the U.S. House of Representatives. African Americans in the South were almost entirely Republicans and were joined by local white allies in the Republican Party.
So, a little history. We know the Republicans were the ones that, were pushing for the 14th Amendment. But the fact that some states actually withdrew their ratification is interesting. And some of those states were blue states. But here's the thing that gets me crazy. Listen now to this little ditty from the Institute for Justice. Watch.
Supreme Court's use of substantive due process to do a job for which the Privileges or Immunities Clause was designed has resulted in a patchwork and incomplete jurisprudence of liberty. Some rights the 14th Amendment was supposed to protect, like freedom of speech, ended up protected anyway. But others, like economic liberty or the right to own a gun, just got ignored and waved away.
On any fair reading, there is not the slightest doubt that the 14th Amendment protects an individual right to own a gun for self-defense. So why did it take the Supreme Court nearly 150 years to recognize that right, and then by a margin of only 1 vote? The Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Despite that clear language, it took a carefully planned public interest lawsuit, which I helped design and litigate, District of Columbia v. Heller, to finally persuade the Supreme Court to interpret the Second Amendment as protecting an individual right to own a gun. But because the District of Columbia is a federal jurisdiction to which the Bill of Rights applies directly, Heller left open the question of whether the 14th Amendment protects the right to own a gun from interference by state and local officials, and if so, how? That was the question the Supreme Court took up 2 years later in McDonald versus City of Chicago. The 14th Amendment was a promise. It was a promise to the people of this country of limited government and respect for individual rights. But that promise was broken almost immediately by the Supreme Court's redaction of the Privileges or Immunities Clause from the 14th Amendment. The Institute for Justice has been working for 20 years to restore the Privileges or Immunities Clause, to restore the concept of individual liberty to its proper place in the Constitution and its proper place in our society.
So, gun rights still at question. So here's what I want to pose to everybody here. So if the Colorado case goes up to the Supreme Court once again gets to weigh in on voting. We want Trump on the ballot. Everybody agrees that there should be everybody should have a right to vote for who they want to vote for. But the question is, if the federal government steps in and mandates that Trump get on the ballot, does it supersede states' rights? Does it undermine the state's decisions about who can be on the ballot? And this becomes the biggest question of all, and one that I'm not sure that we know the answer to. Our immediate instinct is we want him on the ballot, right? And we want the Supreme Court to intervene. But if they intervene, do they make a national law about voting rights? And what is that national law going to look like? And is it going to change based on what the politics of the nation are at the time? Please remember, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Agreed. Redistribution of wealth. We know that's what this is all about. That's how the KKK came about when blacks started holding office. The Dems tried to scare them off. Absolutely, 100%. It's very sad. Yeah, pray. And that's where I'm going to leave you. Be careful what you wish for. My concern is that right now the swamp has us over the barrel, right? Because do they win if the Supreme Court reinstalls Trump on the Colorado ballot, Maine ballot, or the whatever ballot they try to take him off of? If the Supreme Court steps in and says that he has a right to be on the ballot, then does that set a precedent for a national federal election law? And if they do, then we're expanding government. We're taking the rights out of the states, the same as they did with Roe v. Wade, right? They didn't overturn Roe v. Wade. They said the states alone have the right to decide, what the abortion issue is in their state, and there can be 50 different pieces of legislation. So the reason I bring this up is I want us all to be thinking people. Don't just walk in lockstep. Does the swamp have us over the barrel where if we win, they win, and if we lose, they win? That becomes the problem, and that's why the swamp is so dangerous, because they are slippery, and you don't what's right in front of your face and you think is in front of your face isn't exactly what things are. So I don't know. Something like the 17th Amendment for POTUS election. Explain. I think it does because the states are interfering in a federal election. Right. But but every state is sovereign when it comes to elections, Bobby. That's the whole thing. You can't have a winner unless the electors are elected in the state, and then they send up the information, and then Congress ratifies what the electors have decided based on what the people have chosen. That's what the electoral college is. So I don't know. Good people stand up and be counted. But what are we being counted for? What law did Trump do for them to do this? They are becoming one, not three different parts of government. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. He wasn't convicted in a federal court of election interference or treason. So, and if you read Section 3, it's very, very clear. It has nothing to do with the president. Because let's face it, if a president creates an insurrection, a president can't create an insurrection, right? Because you're the sitting president, that's your administration. The insurrection would be if people tried to topple your government. Biden wasn't the president, so he didn't have a government. So Trump saying to go down and protest doesn't topple Biden's government. Biden wasn't sworn in as president, so therefore there was no Biden administration. The American government was under the rule of Trump. So there couldn't be an insurrection. And if any lawyer is watching, I want you to think that. Because if Trump really created, quote unquote, an insurrection, or if there was one, Trump would still be president. Dictatorship. That's right. What we're seeing right now is a Biden dictatorship, and he's using that slippery, slithery way to try and keep himself as president and not allow his opponent to challenge. The judicial department do not have jurisdiction. Correct. Only local is sovereign. Only states are sovereign. Correct. I agree that it violates state sovereignty. Can private citizens sue Maine to keep him off the ballot? It's a possibility. They can. Well, that's what's going on, right? The GOP in Colorado is appealing the decision. And so, we've got to be smart. Let's not be visceral, because being visceral got us where we are right now. We are always 2 steps behind the elites, the people who want to take over America. We need to be ahead of them. And that's the most important thing. Powers that be are the 4th branch of government. You said it, and I agree with it. Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. So think about that before we have a visceral reaction. Let's think about what we need to do here. But the most important thing is, how can you have an insurrection of the government you're presiding over? You can't. And on January 6th, Trump was still president of the United States. He wasn't not president until January 20th. That's the case. So there cannot be an insurrection. Look it up. Okay, everybody. So hopefully Svetlana and Jennifer will be able to be back in the country for next week's show. And if not, they'll have to come over the southern border. Love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Doesn't he need to be found guilty of insurrection? Yes, he has to be. But Article 3 does not provide for the president or vice president of the United States. Read it. It's members of Congress or members of state legislatures or people who are holding high offices that are appointed, not elected. That's what Article 3 says. Every lawyer needs to get on this. Yeah. Thank you, Billy. I always like to know that law enforcement thinks I know what the hell I'm talking about, even when I don't. We went way over. I don't know how I did that, but thank you all for bearing. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next week. Hopefully, it'll be Love you. Bye.